Hey there, Shawna Karrasch here with an Ask Shawna answer coming to you from Vermont. Okay, so this one is from Vicky, and Vicky says, I recently adopted 2 standard genets from Donkey Shelter. I've had them both for about a month, which by now, because it's taken me so long to get these technical difficulties worked out, you've had them for a couple months now, a few months. Anyway, so you've had them for a month. And one of them is just fine, but the other's becoming increasingly fearful. When she first arrived, I was able to clean all 4 of her feet, and she loved having her ears scratched. Then she gradually began to be more reluctant about her feet. At this point, I seem to make her very nervous. She will allow me to put a halter on her head and lead her, and she doesn't mind being brushed. However, anytime I'm touching her, her ears are twitching, and she is tense. She suddenly startles if I make any unexpected movements, and this is a new behavior for her. She is much more relaxed around my husband, but last week stopped allowing him to touch her feet either. As she appears frightened rather than dominant, I would like to try to gain her trust rather than pushing her. Good, that's a good call. Both the shelter and my vet have recommended tying her halter to the fence and then trying to work on her feet, but this only seems to frighten her more. In addition, she spends much of her time scratching, and I would like to use some Medicaid shampoo on her, but would like to show her that I'm not a threat before I attempt it. I worry that forcing anything will reinforce her fear, but I do need to clean her hooves and treat her coat. I just don't know what is scaring her, since the other donkeys are still as affectionate as ever with me. Now, and I love that you have them and you want to do it patient and you didn't just try it to a post, because I think what you're doing is not working. You know what I mean? So whatever it is, and I think that's a really important point. We're not the ones to determine what's worrisome, what's reinforcing, what's good, what's bad. They show us what it is, and we may not know directly what's causing it, but whatever it is, the behavior is not getting better, it's actually falling apart. So something is working against you here. So, and I don't know what it is. I imagine there's something obviously there's something going on, but I can only guess without seeing. So I don't really necessarily know. But what I would do is I would stop. Now keep in mind, at this point, as you try to do the things that you want to do with her, those are making her more frightened. So what I would do is not try to do those things, but just look for her to come to you and allow her the time to come to you and build her confidence in coming to you. I had this kind of similar predicament with, we had some baby beluga whales, and I could see everybody kept trying to, they're very, very, very timid, and everybody kept trying to go to them to pet them. Well, this just made them standoffish. We were just in their face and coming at them all the time. So the key to building their confidence for them, and what I found with a lot of horses since then, even one this weekend that has kind of had this training systematically done with her, she was, if you step back, a lot of times, so when the beluga whales would swim to you, I said, everybody back away. You know, so that they started learning that they could control and make the human go away. So if they came towards us, the human backed off. So it's kind of a little bit of reverse psychology, you know, because you're going, here you come, I'm going to leave, I'm backing away. So you reinforce her, one, by kind of stepping out of her space, but then you can also click and reinforce her. I would go back to just feeding her, to hand feeding her, or sitting with her at feeding time. So there's not any pressure. She doesn't have to do anything. I would just sit and maybe just have her, you know, feed in a bowl on the ground so that she is down, as long as it's safe to be on the ground with her. So she is down and you're nice and low. You're not trying to do anything. She learns to approach you and starts to relax and get better with your presence, because you'll just be a little repetition and letting her realize I'm not trying to do a thing. So I think going about it like that would be good. The next thing I might suggest doing, so now as you can, she will come to you and she'll follow with you and then start maybe leading so that she's coming with you, utilizing the target. So having her touch the target, so it's something that she gets to go to. It's not something coming to her, and keep it nice and low and still and quiet. I think that would also help, and that would also become a gain for her as far as some of these husbandry behaviors you're working for. This is a story I often tell, but I think it's really appropriate here, and this is about my horses Mint and George. I had taught them long ago. I got them from John and Beezy Madden years ago when I first started this training there at their place, and they learned to touch stationary target, which is like a target that I've mounted different places. It's like a boat float, and you'll see videos about the stationary target places on my YouTube stuff. And And so they just learned, when I'd come up to stall, I'd ask them to target. If they're in a paddock, I could ask them to target, and they just go and they'd hold on it. You know, and I could open the door, close the door, enter the stall, exit the stall, do jumping jacks, and they just kind of hold. You know, they'd watch what you're doing, but they just held. And then one day, they were in the barn, and they were just eating their hay. They were, you know, in their stall, and there were guys working up in the hayloft, and it was something happened that was really loud, and so a big loud sound happened, and everybody startled. I jumped, the horses jumped, but what the horses did instantaneously, without, you know, any prompting or collusion between the two of them, they both just zing, they're right to their stationary targets. I mean, I just flew to them. And then you can see them coming off going, what is that? So it became a bit of a security blanket. It became something that good things happened with. So when they got scared, they went to the best place they knew. So by utilizing the target, you can kind of make a friend in the target for her, something that she realizes only good things happen. She gets to approach it, and it'll become a bit of a conditioned reinforcer. All the parts of this training become conditioned reinforcers, because the classic conditioning, Pavlovian conditioning, never stops. So pretty soon they're comfortable with, I mean, all the parts get better and better. But I think for now, what's going to behoove you is to back off the trying to get the things accomplished and let her just get over it in her time. I mean, I think that, I do believe that the damage that can happen if she's pushed and overfaced, you can do something called flooding, where they may start to look quiet on the outside, but they can be terrified on the inside. So, that doesn't, for a lot of times it doesn't really work. It looks quiet, but inside it's not any more quiet. A lot of times it comes out in weird places. So I think by giving her a voice and saying, you get to do this, will you come towards me, building that first up until she is solid. She's coming to you, she's happy to see you, she's relaxed with you, and then pretty soon just work if you can just touch her a little, and so build it up like she's just a baby who doesn't know anything, you know, like a little feral pony. And just, so work it up, and just where you can touch her just a little bit, and you can use a target and have your hand up. This is a lot of times what I do. And I'll have my hand up here, so they know if they go the target, they're getting closer to your hand, and have them come in, click reinforce for that, so they're approaching your hand, and then slowly, you know, kind of gauge how she is. Get closer and closer and start touching her at the place that she's best. And move slowly through that process. As you gain that sort of trust and get her over whatever has frightened her, I think you'll start to get back to where you were. But for now, she's got some sort of stumbling block, which I don't necessarily know what it is, but I do know that we can get over it and help her to make a choice. But she's going to choose the thing with the strongest reinforcement history. So for right now, she finds getting away from all that more reinforcing than it is to do all that. So we just need to slowly work on the people and her association with people, and pretty soon she'll like to be with people, but it's her time. You know, we can't gauge their training process. They show us. We need to kind of just respond to them and watch and say, okay, we need to take more time. Does it take a week? Does it take 2 weeks? Does it take a month? That's for her to evaluate and help us to determine. But I do know the more that you make her do, the longer it'll take till she finally builds that trust again. But you will get there. I mean, that's the best part of it. You will get there. So just let it go and follow her, and let her be the aggressor, and don't the aggressor. But don't let it be, but let her be the pursuant, I guess, a pursuer, the one that's coming to you. And also, as I was saying, let it be her time, her pain. Lost my train of thought. Oh, don't move to the next step until you know she's solid with the step before. So don't think, oh, I think she's pretty good, let's go back to her feet, because that's just going to be too much for her right now. So I would suggest doing, just having it build up just a little bit, you know, so only moving to the next step when you think she's really solid at this step. Now let's move to the next step. She's really solid at this step, move to the next step, so that you don't overface her or take her over threshold. You want to stay sub-threshold. Threshold's the point where she starts going, wee, and she gets too worried, so you want to work where she's like maybe a little worried, but you can get her to be calm about it. So threshold is a very minor reaction. If we start getting over threshold, we lose her, and we go into that place where it can cause more fear than it's helping to calm. Anyway, so Vicki, I hope that helps you out. I would love to hear how you're doing with her now. It's been a little bit of time, and I'd love to, if you please get a hold of me and let me know how things are going. And maybe we're at a new place, in new situations. But I'm here to help you out. And if you have any questions, you or anybody else, please don't hesitate to get a hold of me at AskShawna.com. Until next time, enjoy getting your donkeys on target. Bye.